Mood boards. What are they exactly and why do you need to send them to your client? Let's get started. And if you already don't know, my name is Cami. I'm a brand designer / strategist, and here on YouTube I do tons of passion projects, show my process, as well as talking videos like this. And if you want to check me out on Instagram, that is where I post the most, that's where I interact the most, so check me out there as well. And let's get started with mood boards. A mood board is so important to see the direction of the project. It ensures that you and your client are aligned and you both know what is going to happen throughout the process. And it can be difficult to describe a client or your vision in words, and that is why a mood board is so important, because the images allow you to express the vision without words. And words can be misunderstanding, there could be misunderstandings. So using a mood board is the best way to show people what your vision is without any misunderstandings, and it allows everyone on the team to know what the clients actually want from this brand. And a mood board is one of those things that you may try and avoid or miss out, but don't, because it's so important. Like I said, it allows the person to know the vision. And that is why this is like the beginning of my creative process. I like to use mood boards every single time. Even if you fill out the questionnaire with your client, or if you did strategy, it's still important to create a mood board, as this really allows both of you to know that you are both on the same lines. And this also supports you throughout your creative process. It allows you to know that you're on the right lines. You can compare the mood board compared to what you created, e.g. a logo, and it allows you to check if these things still flow together nicely, or if you went off on a total different road compared to what you said you will do. A mood board. I always ask my clients to create a Pinterest board, and this helps me to understand the direction and the feel. So in this video, I'll be showing you both sides, what the client and the designer would do with this Pinterest board and mood board. And this is a video inspired by Abi Design. I saw her mood board and it's very similar. However, I have a couple little different things that I do throughout my mood board process. So I wanted to also show you guys what I do and how it differs. Although her video is also amazing, definitely check it out. I hope to be creating a couple different videos on branding, e.g. color, typography, logo variations, and so on, just showing you all of my process, really digging into my process. So it's important to tell the client specifically what you want from the Pinterest board, as they can totally choose too many things are not relevant, and it could become a harder process than it needs to be. And that is why you need to give your client guidelines on how to create a successful and valuable Pinterest board. So what I like my client to include is any vibes, feels, colors, and the vibes and feels can be anything like photography. Photography is always a very good thing to use in your mood board to really show the vibes and the feels. And I also like them to use any branding inspirations like logos, typography, patterns, textures, any illustrations, and other assets like packaging. It is also important to tell your client not to look at the competitors, not to take any inspirations from the competitors, as we want to be different, we want to stand out, and we don't want to take any inspiration from them. It's good to know who the competitors are, and that is something that we'll be going into, like the questionnaire and the strategy, although we don't want to take any visual inspiration from them, as we want to be different, we want to be better. But it's important to have a look what they're doing so we can do it better. And before you get started, there is a couple Pinterest tips that I have for you. So Pinterest tip number 1 is when you select one pin, when you scroll down, you'll see any related pins to it. And I think that's always a good thing. If you find something very good and you click on it, you'll find anything related, anything similar underneath it. And the same thing happens when you choose tons of photos, place it into your board, and then you will end up getting similar suggestions that is related to your post again. And that is what I really like about Pinterest, as it gives you similar things. There is also the magnifying glass. So for example, if you pick a photo and it's on packaging and you want to zoom in onto the typography and you want similar typography, you zoom into the typography and then Pinterest will give you similar related posts. Another tip is when you write aesthetic after your search term, you will get better result. So rather than typing in something like pink, you'll write in pink aesthetic, which will just lead to better results. And that is my Pinterest tips. And before we get started on creating our mood board after the client sends in their board, it is also very important to look at all the materials that you have before you start the mood board as the designer. So if you have a questionnaire and strategy, it's very important to have a look at all the materials from there and just take any keywords that may inspire you and you feel that is in the same direction. And this will allow you to add any more images that the client may not have. And this will also allow you to just pick images that you think fit with the brand very nicely. As a part of my strategy, I will also ask for any adjectives of what the client sees the brand, e.g. bold, brave, colourful, neutral, stuff like that. I always ask my client to pick out a couple of adjectives. I always ask them to pick like as many as they see and then go down to like 5 or 3, which is a very nice number. So this will allow you to really focus into the brand and how the brand should be and the vibes and everything. So after the client gives you the mood board, it is the time to finally jump into Illustrator. So we have all these materials and the keywords, we have their Pinterest board, and we know what we're going to be looking for. So we not only want to use their images, we want to use our images. So good places to look for images is of course Pinterest. We have Dribbble, Behance and Google Images, as well as Design Inspiration. It is also very important to ask your client questions about the mood board, e.g. why did they choose these images? So it's something that you can also go through in your strategy session or just have a separate call with it to talk about their mood board and really understand what they're wanting with it. So the mood board creation. So as I said, we have the materials and the keywords. So I usually like to place them next to my board so I can always have a look at them. So we can have things like these keywords, the adjectives, as well as the target audience. It's very important to have the target audience, as this is what we are creating it for. We want the target audience to appeal, the mood board to appeal to that target audience, as well as any moods and references that you want to put in. So any vital information, put it onto the side so you don't forget about it. And I like to create 2 mood boards in Illustrator, 2 different categories of mood boards. So I like to have my first mood board with the vibes, feel, colors, as well as packaging and any other assets like that. And the second mood board is very much typography. So any nice typography, any logos including typography, that is what I include in my second mood board. And I like to give my client around 2 to 3 options for the different directions, especially when the Pinterest board shows these directions. So I don't just totally just go off in a whole different way. Although it is sometimes good to show your client a mood board that is a little bit more risky, but still goes with their vibes. So if you see that your client is going for a colourful theme, you'll of course create something that is colourful, but then you can also include something that is a bit more darker if you see that there's any images that is like a pop of colour from the dark, if you know what I mean. After some time working with mood boards, you will see when to create a couple more mood boards than like one. And then sometimes you will also know when there is a clear direction to just use one. But I think it's also very important to do sometimes show the more, I guess, risky side of a mood board. So going something with a little bit what they went with, but just a little bit of risk and something a bit more different than they wanted, which also appeals to the brand. That's very important. Always create something that really appeals to the brand. So in Illustrator, I add a couple of boxes for my first mood board. I like to use 9 boxes stacked on top of each other. I think that's a nice layout. I always use it in my videos whenever I'm showing you my process, and that is something that I just stick with. And then I would add the photos from Pinterest, any ones that are really sticking out to me, anything that is something that I feel like really fits with the brand. And again, it's a gut feeling, so if you chose it / your client, there is a reason that it's there, and some things will stand out more than others, and definitely choose the things that stand out the most. Then what we will do is clip these images onto the boxes and then just move them about, see what is like the best way for it to look as appealing as possible, as that is very important. If your mood board doesn't look good, then it's not going to really appeal to the client if it doesn't look good. I also like to add another square on top of the images, which will be the potential color palette. So the colors are more similar, e.g. if we have a hot pink and a more pastel-y pink, we will use a square that is the in-between maybe, and then we'll place on both of them, and then they become somewhat of a similar color, so your client will see more of the color palette that you're thinking of. And I will be getting into color palettes in my next branding video. So when you have chosen these colors and then you've placed the color squares on top of the images, then you can play about with the opacity / transparency. I always go with the soft light, but whatever you think fits best. It's definitely good to have a play around with it. Usually soft light is the one that works with me for most of my things. And this just makes your mood board colors more cohesive, as of course color use in the imagery would be very different, like shades and tints, like I said before. And then what I like to do is place the color palettes. I create like little circles, put the colors in them, and place them right in next to the mood board, so the customer, the client, will know what sort of colors we're thinking of. However, note that this may change. Let your client know that these color palettes may change throughout your process. You may find that these colors are not as good as some other colors, or a different shade of that color. So it's always important to note that down. But I'll definitely be getting into colors in my next branding video. And then we'll be creating more mood boards. So we follow the same thing. We're going to be finding a different style, more maybe a riskier side. And like you have seen here, I've created 2 different mood boards. So we have more of like a playful, colorful feel, and then we have more of a darker with pops of bright colors, and then underneath it we have typography. And what I tell my client is basically they can mix and match, because the way I create my mood boards is that everything should be able to work with each other, and there is different ways that we can go about it. And of course this is something that like the client has chosen, so it's important to like incorporate the different styles, especially when they've chosen it a lot of the time. So like in the Pinterest board that I was creating, there was different typography that I used that was fitting into these two types, these 2 different types of categories. So I definitely used those to show to the client, and then they can pick and choose if they want to go with mood board 1 and typography 1 or 2, and they can just mix and match. And then these mood boards, I will also have them in the PDF carry-all, which will be all included in the strategy. So just getting into like really deep into the mood boards that I created. So the first mood board, like I said, it is very colorful, it's very bright, and you can really see like the strong vibes. However, the second mood board, it does have this more, I guess, mysterious feel, and it is darker, but it does have these really strong pops of color that really allows these colors to really pop. And then the typography number 1, naturally, because of the darker backgrounds on them, I would personally place that with mood board 2 and typography 1 together. They naturally they're more quirky and that really fits together quite nicely. But I do also see typography number 2 fitting quite well with both of them as well. Like I said, you want that to mix and match, and if you don't feel like it matches with like the vibes or it can't match with the mood boards on top, then you shouldn't be really using it, as you can't mix and match them. Unless you state to your client, this only works with this mood board and we can't really mix and match this one specifically, but I still wanted to show you what this could look like. And yeah, this is my mood board process. Like I said, this was very inspired by Abi Design. The way she creates mood boards, she uses like one type of mood board, whereas I like to use 2 different types of mood board. One for like the vibes and the colors and a little bit of packaging and just like the general vibes, and then as well as having a typography mood board, so the type board, which will really allow me to understand deeply what the client would want from like the typography and the logos. So yeah, this is the end. I've really enjoyed showing you like my process, trying to explain my process and how it differs from like Abi Design and maybe other designers. But I think both process really deeply and allowing you to understand, you know, the mood board process and the different things, and you can just pick and choose things that you like from, like, you might decide that you like something from Abby's video about mood boards and mine, and then you just create something of your own. That's why I think it's very important to create videos like on the mood board, and I think more people should create their processes, create a video on that, so you can pick and choose and create something of your own, as I did realize that there isn't that much videos on mood boards, at least that I could find. There was like a couple, maybe like 2 or 3, but that was with like Abi Design in it, which she made an amazing video on mood boards. So yeah, so this is the end, and if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you like me very much so. And the next video that I'm planning in like the branding, I guess, series is colors. I touched upon colors here and showed you how I would integrate colors into this, but next time we'll be talking about color psychology, choosing the right color palette and all that jazz. So I'll see you guys next time. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed showing you my process. I think a lot of people want to see what the branding process is like, so I think this is a really nice start to it, as it is the beginning of the creative process, and mood boards so important. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!